Most valuable rare 1894 U.S. postage stamps. The 1894 tax stamp. It is part of the commemorative pieces. Issued for the Tax Act of 1862. The revenue law. Implemented by the American government. To finance the American Civil War. This reform established a special office. For the collection of taxes. Imposing excise taxes on most goods consumed. And traded in the United States of America. Tax companies. They could also download and pay their taxes with the purchase of this stamp. Which proved payment had been made. On the center. You will be able to see some playing cards. Above. The written. Playing cards. A little further down. Act of August 1894. Which reminded us that the law was still in force. Followed by the nominal value of the piece. 2 cents of the US dollar. Stamp released in 1894 in millions of copies. It has no serrations. And today one of these original pieces is worth $45. The Bureau of Engraving and Printing stamp of 1894. It was among the first stamps to have been printed. From this new company. Until 1894. The exclusive printing of federal and state stamps. It was in the hands of both the American Bank Company. Then to private companies. Subsequently a new contract was stipulated. With the Note Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Then to differentiate. Had engraved on the image. Up in the corners. Of triangles. On the center. The face of President George Washington is depicted. Facing left. Down. The nominal value of the piece. 2 cents of the US dollar. Piece issued in 1894. It was printed in millions of copies. And today it is worth $63. The 2-cent stamp of 1894. It's very similar to the piece you just saw. This stamp is part of the collection called Type 1. Rosy in color. It differs from the previous piece. With a curved line. Visible with a magnifying glass. Located in the triangle at the top left. Stamp printed by BIP. Acronym for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing Company. Had recently taken on the federal printing contract. Of all U.S. postage stamps. On the center. You will be able to see a young George Washington. First President of the United States of America. Who held his political role for 8 years. From 1789 to 1797. Down. The nominal value of the piece. Reported in both numbers and letters. 2 cents of the US dollar. Above the bust. The written. United States postage. Postage stamp issued on October 5, 1894. It had a circulation of 35 million pieces. It has a 12 serration. And today it is worth $82. The 1894 Garfield stamp. Depicted in the center. The bust of James Abram Garfield. 20th President of the United States of America. He held the role for about 6 months in 1881. The piece was the first U.S. postage stamp to have been printed by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing Company. Organization F. Founded in 1862. Following the outbreak of the Civil War. In the years to follow. The nation was on the verge of bankruptcy. And the government to pay off its debts. Issued a tax to be paid on all goods. The Department of Internal Revenue was responsible for collection. That thanks to the collaboration of the BIP. The Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Issued stamps. For the collection of taxes on beer and cigars. Including this Garfield stamp. Up. The writing is shown. United States postage. Down. The nominal value of the piece. Reported in both numbers and letters. 6 cents of the American dollar. Postage stamp issued on July 18, 1894. Was issued in 5,120,000 copies. With a 12 serration. Today it is worth $225. Jackson's 1894 stamp. Depicts the bust of Andrew Jackson. 7th President of the United States of America. She held his role for 8 years. From 1829 to 1837. He was the first president to be a member of the Democratic Party. And it played a fundamental role in the equality of his party. It has in fact made electability more democratic. And access to important roles in the same party. Of which he was a part. Indeed, before his election, high positions could be held only by rich landowners and intellectuals. Above the bust, the writing is shown. United States postage. Down. The nominal value of the piece. 3 cents of the American dollar. Another historical fact that reminds us of Jackson. In the history of the United States, it is his political fight against the financial monopoly of the American Central Bank during his government introduced strict measures for access to credit by citizens. Postage stamp issued on September 24, 1894, was issued in 20,214,000 pieces, with a 12 serration. Today it is worth $325. The 1894 Webster stamp depicts the bust of Daniel Webster, American politician. Became Secretary of State for 2 years, from 1841 to 1843. Strong supporter of federal authority over member states. He was known for being an excellent political orator and diplomatic, and negotiated in favor of the Union, seeking compromises with states who wanted secession and the Civil War. Piece that is part of the first stamp issues printed by the BIP. Reports above the bust. The written United States postage. Down. The nominal value of the piece reported both in number and letters. 10 cents of the American dollar. Postage stamp issued on September 17, 1894. It had a circulation of 12,263,000 copies, with a 12 serration. Today it is worth $395. The 1894 Clay stamp depicts the bust of Henry Clay, U.S. politician. She held several important roles during his career, including Speaker of the United States House of Representatives for 3 years. From 1811 to 1814. Became the 9th Secretary of State for 4 years, from 1825 to 1829. And was a United States Senator for over 14 years. He played fundamental roles in modernizing the country's economy. With the introduction of tariffs to protect industries, he strongly wanted the creation of a national bank and the presence of the federal government to build infrastructure in the country. He was also a skilled diplomat, and he managed on several occasions to reach agreements between politicians. Above his torso, the written United States postage. Down. The nominal value of the piece. 15 cents of the U.S. dollar. Postage stamp issued on October 15, 1894. It had a circulation of 1,583,000 copies, with a 12 serration. Today it is worth $395. The 1894 Lincoln stamp depicts the bust of Abraham Lincoln, 16th President of the United States of America. He held his political role for 4 years, from 1861 to 1865. This piece is part of the first series, printed by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing Company, which had been awarded the contract by the federal government for the production of stamps. Above the bust, the writing is shown. United States postage. Down. The nominal value of the piece. 4 cents of the American dollar. During his presidency, in 1861, 7 states had seceded from the Union and had formed the Confederate States of America. Lincoln did not force these states to rejoin the Union, but he managed to get them in at the end of the Civil War, when the Confederate artillery got the better of the Confederate Army. Postage stamp issued on September 11, 1894. It had a circulation of 16,718,000 copies, with a 12 serration. Today it is worth $550. The 1894 Grant stamp depicts the bust of Ulysses Grant. He was the 18th President of the United States of America. He held the role for 8 years, from 1869 to 1877. Before getting the presidency, he was a Union general during the American Civil War. He also served as commanding general of the U.S. Army for 5 years, from 1864 to 1869. During his government, he strongly wanted the elimination of slavery in the former Confederate States of America, as well as introducing reforms who supported the right to citizenship of African Americans, as well as the reconstruction of the South and economic recovery. Above the bust. The written United States postage. Down. The nominal value of the piece is reported 5 cents of the American dollar. Postage stamp issued on September 28, 1894. It had a circulation of 30,688,000 copies. With a 12 serration. The peculiarity of this piece lies in the ink, which quickly wore out the plate with which the stamp was printed. Ink that could create various shades of coloring on paper. Today a sheet containing 3 of these specimens is worth $625. Jefferson's 1894 stamp depicts the bust of Thomas Jefferson, founding father of the nation. He was the 3rd President of the United States of America. He held the role for 8 years. From 1801 to 1809. Principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Participated in the rebellion of the American colonies against Great Britain. He also founded the first university in Virginia, where in addition to intellectuals, ordinary citizens also had access. Above the bust. The writing United States postage. At the bottom the nominal value of the piece. 50 cents of the American dollar. This stamp was distributed by post offices nationwide. Later this piece. It was used in the Philippines. And over time many of these were lost. Postage stamp issued on November 1, 1894. It had a circulation of 175,000 copies. With a 12 serration. Today it is worth $795. The 1894 Special Delivery Stamp. It was issued to accommodate the extra postal service. Immediate delivery of a letter within 1 mile. Service present in communities larger than 4,000 people. Pictured on the left. A postman intent on delivering the mail. Above the writing. United States. To the right. The written. Special postal delivery. Secure immediate delivery at any post office. Service first introduced in 1885. Guaranteed delivery within the day. Initially the service was available from 7 in the morning. At midnight. The next year. The time passed from 7 in the morning to 7 p.m. A success. Which brought all the post offices of the United States to offer this special delivery. Down. The nominal value of the piece is reported 10 cents of the American dollar. Postage stamp issued on October 10, 1894. It had a circulation of millions of copies. With a 12 serration. Today it is worth $1,200. The Postage 2 stamp of 1894. It was first issued into circulation in 1879. And it was the only piece which did not provide for an advance payment for the delivery of correspondence. Payment was made upon delivery by the recipient of the letter. On the center, you will be able to see the number 1, which indicated the amount to be paid. 1 cent of the US dollar. Up. The written. Post 2. Which is the name of this stamp. Down. The nominal value reported in letters. With time. The stamp manufacturing company. The bib. He modified the drawings and outlines, which contained the number. It was the only change made for this type of stamp, which remained on the market for 25 years. Until 1904. Stamp issued in millions of copies. Today it is worth $2,695 on the philately market. The 1894 Madison stamp depicts the bust of James Madison, 4th President of the United States of America. He held his institutional role for 8 years. From 1809 to 1817. He is part of the founding fathers of the nation, as well as having participated in the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America, which initially included only 7 articles, and outlined the structure of the federal government. It played a fundamental role in convincing member states to accept the Constitution. Above his torso. The writing United States postage. Down. The nominal value of the piece reported in letters and number. 2 cents of the US dollar. Postage stamp issued on December 10, 1894. It had a circulation of 10,000 copies. With a 12 serration. Today this piece is worth $4,900.